This is Leaders in the Trenches, and your host today is Gene Hammett.
Hi, I'm your host, Gene Hammett, and this is Leaders in the Trenches. My question for you today is, how could you double your company? Now, if you were running a billion-dollar company, that's probably way outside your realm, and maybe it will happen over time. I hope it does. But if you're having something more, I won't say realistic, but more attainable, like be doubling $1 million company, or taking your company from 7 figures to 8 figures. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today, is how a company is planning to take their business from 7 figures to 8 figures. And the reason I picked this is because I work with hyper-growth companies. They're growing very fast, and I wanted to find out someone who is actually doing this and what is their plan behind it. I thought you would learn from their plan, and then I would be able to ask questions around how that is working over time. So I picked someone I knew personally. Josh Felber is working with his wife on a primal organics company that has recently made the Inc. 5000. So they are planning to get to 8 figures very soon and as fast as they can. And the way they're doing it is probably not as intuitive as it would be for most people. The strategy behind it, and I'll tease you to this, is really about less is more. So how do you double your company by making your priority less is more? Well, you do it by creating systems, and you create focus for the products and the offers that you're making into the market. And that's the reason we're talking with Josh Felber today. Josh is a powerhouse in his own right. He's got Making Bank podcast. He's got all kinds of things going on. I won't belittle him by trying to name all of those things right now and get some of them actually wrong. But Josh and I go way back. We met each other at conferences and we connected through mutual friends. And it's going to be a great interview today if you want to grow your business really fast. So here's the interview with Josh Felber. Hi, how are you, Josh?
I'm awesome, Gene. I really appreciate you having me on the show today.
All right, this is take 2, so we might be laughing a little bit, guys. I had you on the show because not only you're a friend of mine, but when you mentioned and really celebrating the fact that your company had made Inc. 5000 for the second year in a row, I was impressed, and I wanted to have you on the show to get some insight. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, no, awesome. It's an honor. And, it was kind of funny was I think I posted that and then I actually didn't read the full rest of the letter. And as all this, somebody posted, "Hey, you're not supposed to post this yet." I'm like, oh, well.
I read that too. And I started to say something, but,
hey,
well.
Nobody knows what the rank is yet. So we'll find out next week or something, 2 weeks.
Yeah. So I wanted to have you on here to talk specifically about growth. But before we dive into that, let's talk about your company. Let's set context. So tell us about the company and a little bit about you.
Sure. So my wife, the company's Primal Life Organics, and my wife started the company. 2012 is when we relaunched it as Primal Life Organics, but originally it was back in 2009 after our daughter was born, and she had a miscarriage and everything else. And she was like, "Man, what is going on here?" And found out a lot of our skincare had so many toxic ingredients. And she was a nurse anesthetist, and everything else. So we were eating healthy. We were doing a lot of healthy things. It was just, what was that one thing that wasn't? And so that's why she created the company initially. Then in 2012, we actually rebranded based on a lot of searching and looking at different stuff. Into Primal Life Organics Paleo Skincare was the hashtag, because there was a lot of searches happening, but there was nothing out there. And so we were the first ones to market with it. And just every year, we've had significant doubling or above growth. And then now there's a bunch of just other companies that have copied what we do and kind of on the second bandwagon behind us.
Well, that gives us context. One of the things at hypergrowth, and we were talking before we cut the recorder on, is the complexity when you're adding more employees all the time.
Sure.
So how many employees do you have now?
So we have right around 40 plus or minus a couple.
All right. And what were you at last year?
Probably half that maybe, or maybe 12 to 15. So somewhere right in there.
So that's a pretty good growth rate. And I think a lot of people can understand that, whether you have big corporate teams and you're adding, 2 people a month, that's a lot.
Sure. Oh yeah.
When you think about how do you engage your new people, like what are the keys around getting them to understand their role, their job when they first come in?
Good question, because we haven't had anything for a long time. So
this is the way it works.
We up until recently, no, but we actually have always kind of taken them through just a process to learn about the company. So we actually do everything here at our facility. So we make all of our own products right here in Akron, Ohio. We ship everything right here from Akron, Ohio, and we do all of our marketing and just everything customer service. It's all done right here. So one of the things that we always did was when people first started with us, the first week they would start in the kitchen and they would learn how to make the products, because then it kind of gives them context, whether they're in customer service, whether they're in marketing. So it gives it, hey, wow, we actually do hand make all this stuff. And then they move over and they ship it so they can see how they pack the packages with care and love and everything before they go out the door. And then customer service, hey, here's how the customers are responding. What can we help them with? And see that interaction. And then they move into their respective departments from there overall. So that was kind of our initial process that we've used. Recently, it's been modified. We have somebody on our team that's actually helping with that, and they take them through some of that as well as a little bit more of an onboarding process. So,
well, I think that the fact that you have a process is good, because most of the time growth companies don't even think that way.
Sure.
So that's great to see what you're doing. When you are thinking about your monthly kind of interactions, what is the core things that keeps everybody moving forward in the same direction?
So what we started, I think it was first of the year, was yearly or monthly vision meetings. And so one of the things that we did is Trina and I sat down, my wife, and we figured out, okay, what is our next 3-year, and we used Cameron Herold's Vivid Vision Plan. And, what's that next 3 years look like? Where are we at in 3 years? And so we designed all of that. And then what we do is at the meetings, we share that, we share, hey, here's kind of, here's where we're going. And then we show, hey, here's what we're doing right now today. Here's how you're an integral, part of this, whether it's you shipping out the products or making it, making sure the right formula is all put together. And so the products actually do come out correct and have the right, consistencies and everything, to packaging it, to shipping it, to how customer service answers the phones, responds to emails, and interacts with the customers. And so each month we're always sharing something new with them. I just got back from some retailers a couple of weeks ago. So our meeting beginning this month was, hey, here's kind of the retailers that we've met with. Here's some different teams that we have on board that are helping us. And then here's what it's looking like over the next 12 to 24 months as we start to move into retail.
What have you found the benefits of having that level of detail every month?
I think it, for us, from a cultural standpoint, one of the big things that we did, I think it was in June, it came up was I was like, hey, we were talking, and all of a sudden I was just like, whatever, their name, John, tell us why you love working here. And then all of a sudden we had, almost 40 people going around saying why they loved working here. And it all, like 9 out of 10, it all came back to the employees and the culture and what, working with each individual person. So that's a place for them to reinforce that. Yeah. So one, it was a way to reinforce it. So, each person was able to step up and, give their thoughts, and each person next to them was like, oh man, that's cool. This person likes working with me. And maybe I didn't think they did, and, some people liked it because we get pizza every Friday, and, and it's a fun environment and relaxed and stuff too. But, overall, like I said, 90%, it was like, hey, we love the people, we love the culture, and everything. So.
Now, did you feel like culture was going to be that important as you were starting this company?
Originally it was just my wife and our nanny, and when she wasn't watching the kids in the morning and stuff, she would help pack up and ship things out. So, that was like the last thought at the time.
Which is common, right? You're trying to get, traction. You're trying to get, is this a valid idea? At what point, how many employees did it take for you to really think, okay, we got to be more intentional about culture?
It was probably in the last 6 to 8 months.
Okay.
7 or 10 months, somewhere in there. So right at the end of last year, we started to really look at it and talk about it. Because you go from 12 to 15 to 20. Now you're like, okay, well, who are you? Come in sometimes and you're like, you don't know who everybody is all the time. Because obviously, there's turnover and stuff like that. But as you find that tight group of people, And so, as we've moved into that, we're like, okay, what can we do consistently to continue to bring people together to, create that teamwork in that environment that people like to be in. So,
I want to share some of my research here with you and also with the audience, and talk about how it relates to in your business. Does that sound like a pretty good thing?
Yeah, awesome.
So to give everyone context here, I have researched over 100 interviews now with Inc. 5000 CEO leaders or corporate leaders like you. Is your wife technically the CEO, Josh?
She's the face of it, the CEO.
Okay.
I'm just kind of in the shadow.
You're in support.
Because I'm the CMO.
We appreciate that.
Right.
So I've been talking to so many of these people, like at a top level, the company is such an important piece to this. And one of the things you've been talking about is vision. That's so critical for the success of a company, is to have a vision that people buy into.
Right.
How do you ensure that a new hire buys into the vision of your company?
So we take them through a hiring process, and along the way through the screening, we look for different things to make sure they'll click and align. I mean, you're never 100% right, which sucks, but, so you got to go through sometimes a couple people, and then all of a sudden you find the right one. I mean, we've been trying to add some awesome people to our internal marketing team here to help grow. And, we've gone through a couple different people to really find it. And all of a sudden, boom, out of nowhere, like, oh, wait, we got this person in Akron, Ohio. That's super cool. And, they're a right fit, and, she's works hard and, knows what she's doing. We didn't have to do a whole lot of training, which is super cool, with that. And so I think sometimes it takes time, but part of it is also, I think, the hiring process that you take people through to make sure they kind of match what your values, what your beliefs, and the whole lifestyle integration. I mean, nobody smokes from here, things like that. I mean, we're a health-focused company, and so it would kind of be hard. Somebody's packing your stuff, and they just went out and had a cigarette, and now they're getting all that smell in the box and everything else before it ships out. So we try to make sure we maintain and do what we say and live how we say.
Well, that's excellent, because it all starts from the hire, right?
Sure.
How important is it to hire that right person for the company versus how expensive is it to hire the wrong person?
Right. And, and if you hire the wrong one, you just got to cut them loose quick. So.
Well, that is certainly a mark of a hyper-growth company, as someone who's willing to make quick decisions. And so, yeah, you do have to let people go quick. The other aspect of company is a one-of-a-kind brand. And you already said this, Josh. You talked about, there was nothing in the space, but we saw the need. We saw people searching on it. And primal or kind of paleo organics for skincare and for healthcare.
Right.
And I may get that exactly, get it a little bit wrong, because I know you're very close to your brand, but you created something that everyone knows that you're unique in the marketplace. You're not trying to be like someone else.
Right. And that's what we've done, or at least that's what my wife has done since the initial, launch of it was, how can we take what we have? How can we be different? There wasn't anybody that had tooth powder. There wasn't really, other than Tom's, there was no other natural deodorant when we launched. A truly natural deodorant. I mean, we don't have waters. We don't have fillers. We don't have crap. All the ingredients you can pronounce. You could actually eat any of our products. That's how healthy they are. It's all real, raw, good food ingredients.
And do they work, Josh? I'm just kidding.
Well, it is, because there's a lot of stuff that comes out, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, another deodorant, or another this or another that, and it's like, but then they're not there. They don't sustain, because obviously it doesn't work, or they're not focused on brand and and brand and growth. And one of the things, just from a lot of the marketing events that I'm part of and things like that, and I meet a lot of people, is they're like, hey, that's super cool that you guys are building a brand, because they've just gone out and done, have one-off type products, and they sell as many they can, and they bail out and go do something else. And we've sustained that and created a brand and a I guess culture, as you said, around what the product is, and around health, and around education, and knowing what you're doing and putting in and on your body. So
Well, I think that's such an important piece. And I think the next one I'm going to talk about here is under the culture level, and that's create radical transparency. Is that something you guys appreciate as you're growing the company? I know you do as a product to create wholesome products, but
Sure.
in the company, radical transparency?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm a little kind of like partial on this.
Okay.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
and just because I've studied it and I've
Yes.
seen companies that it's like, okay, cool, we're opening up all of our books so you can see every single penny that we do, kind of a
Yeah.
thing. And there's other companies like, all right, we're giving it all to charity, and then hopefully we make a profit and stuff like that. And I think one of the big things, to sustain and to be able, my whole thing is like, look, we want to hire and we want to create let me back up. We want to make the best products for people out there. We want to have the highest quality ingredients, the best packaging, and give people the best out there, hands down. And
Yep.
so by doing that, we got to also have great team, great culture, great education, and everything behind that. And you can't do that for free, and you can't do that for losing money. And so, we have give back stuff we do. We have different things we do, and we try to pay our employees the best that we can, but also still make a profit. We try to marketing. We try to do as much education and, like I said, give back. But we also have to make a profit. That has to come first, because if we don't make a profit to run the business and to keep the doors on and the lights on and everything else, we're not going to be there. And now 40 people don't have a job, or 30 people, or whatever that may be, or 100 people, by
Right.
next year. And so I think you have to be a profitable company first. And I think it's okay to share information, with your team, where you're going, how you're going, the vision, here's what you're doing. But a lot of times when people see it, they're like, okay, cool, they're going to do $10 million. That means, oh man, they must be, banking cash. But, and $10 million, after it's all said and done and taxes and everything else, I mean, you may walk out the door and you got $300K to put back in the business next year.
Yeah, and that's one reason why radical transparency, even if you don't do open books, is explain to them how the business works and how
Right.
these, it's not $10 million to your bank account. It is shared amongst all these other people and the IRS and all that stuff. So radical transparency in the research I was doing is a lot about trust. It's a lot about having real conversations with people
Sure.
when they need to. Principles came out this year from Ray Dalio talking about, how important transparency was across everything that we do.
Right.
And the feedback that we give each other as we grow together. So let me ask you about this, because, being on the cutting edge of this market you're in, innovation's got to be pretty important to you. How do you encourage your employees to think innovatively for the business?
So one of the things I know that we're doing right now, and that's a great question, is, we're just putting these pieces in place to really, I guess, encourage it more, or to bring it to the forefront. Is, we, have been working on putting up, like idea walls, or, and things like that. So people can put hey, I had this idea. And I think Cameron Herold talks about it in his one book, is, one of the employees was like, hey, we need to have 1-800-GOT-JUNK, or one of the companies that he was at, on every Starbucks cup. And so but that was on the idea wall. And so each person that puts their idea on the idea wall, whatever it may be, huge, small, medium, has to own that. If you're going to put it up, you got to own it, and you got to create momentum behind it. And whether it works out or not, that's cool, no big deal, but all of a sudden, if it gets traction, then that's, something you start pushing and working for. So since we are just rolling out right now, I don't have tons of feedback on that specific area, but I know, speaking with Cameron, different people in, around culture and things like that, that's an area that helps unify and kind of bring people to the forefront. Oh, hey, if we had a product, or maybe the product could do this or XYZ, that would help more people do this. And so I think by encouraging that and by providing them a space for that, it definitely will help for sure.
Well, you said something interesting in there, because I don't think I've mentioned this, but the overarching research and that I've done with hypergrowth companies like yourself is when we get employees to feel like owners.
Right.
When they get them to own it, right? Own the client experience, own the project. That box going out, is it packed with care? Do
Yes.
we have everything in there? Or is it just oh, it's just sort of, we just got it done. Is that something you value as you're growing your company? Is this aspect of ownership?
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's huge. Is owning, each person, whether it's somebody that's mixing the ingredients or somebody that's packing the box or even just printing the labels, to make sure they didn't smear when they're getting printed out, or that like you said, the box is packed and it has the right amount of packing material and everything else, so it doesn't get smashed in the journey and everything else. So I think and encouraging each person to own that. One of the things we do when the box is shipped, is the representative puts their name on a line on a card that goes in there. So when they get it, if there is something that happened, or maybe something that nobody's perfect. So sometimes things they have 5 items, 4 make it in, 1 always doesn't. So it happens, and so but that person has that ownership of that, like, oh man, I totally spaced out and I didn't even see that, or whatever it may be. And so by holding them accountable to that, they can own that area and also make sure what they are doing is maybe double checked or triple checked before they tape it up and it goes out.
Well, I appreciate you giving us that, because I always have a practical and actionable. So let me ask you, based on companies that are trying to hit it Inc. 5000 for the second time, what have you seen the most practical and actionable strategy or tool that you're using right now to make sure you're staying focused for the next year?
So I think, for us, hitting it, 2 times was awesome. I think since we've doubled every year, I kind of had a good feeling that we would hit it again this year, or for last year, I guess. But moving forward, like, okay, how do we double what we're going to end this year at to next year, and everything. And so for that, I think you have to be focused, like you mentioned. And part of it right now, for us, we have 60 different SKUs. So, what do we want to be known as? How, do we want to be an overall general skincare brand company? Do you want to be just an oral care company and focus on, the best, highest quality oral care products, whether it's tooth powders, LED whitening systems, the toothbrushes, everything that we offer from that, and deodorant and everything, and just really focused and put all of our energy, all of our employees' energy, all of our marketing energy, whether it's creating graphics, creating copy, creating, emails, to making the products, and focus it laser focused on just those areas. I think by doing that, and from a hyper-focus approach, we'll actually see faster growth and overall more efficient productions and systems and everything flowing way better.
I see that happening all the time, but most companies believe growth happens from being broader.
Right.
Going after new markets, going after new products. Whereas you told me before, we're going from 60 to a lot less than 60. I'm not going to hold you to an exact number, but in order to double your business, you're literally got, I guess, your top brands, and we're putting everything we've got into these top SKUs.
Sure.
And that's the way we're going to double our business.
And it'll take, so it'll allow us to, as a creation standpoint, to create more products in that specific area. Okay. Under that specific, I guess, let's say oral care, for example, create more products under that specific oral care brand, by creating just this one I know of that we could launch in October, just that product alone, we could do 10 million on before the end of the year. And so
I'm curious. Can you tell us what it is, or
not yet? Not yet. Once we launch it, then I'm happy to come back on, just because. But there's a lot of approval process stuff happening that goes live October 1 in Canada. And so we're able to push one of our products in that specific area out in Canada.
This is a good chance for me to tell you, like, if our audience wanted to keep up with what you're doing and what that product might be that's going to be $10 million, how can they keep up with you and the work you guys are doing?
For sure. PrimalLifeOrganics.com. Is our website here in the U.S. PrimalLifeOrganics.ca is our Canada website, if anybody's listening from Canada. My wife has a Healthy Me podcast called The Healthy Me on iTunes and everywhere else. And then you can also check out Making Bank as well. I interview top leaders like Gene and everybody else. And, we dive into a lot of really cool strategies and ideas, but just Primal Life Organics, I would say, is the main place to go. and we share tons of educational content on there, our YouTube channel, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere else. So
Perfect. Well, thanks for being here, Josh. Thanks for sharing your insights and wisdom.
cool. Awesome, Gene. I really appreciate your time, and it was an honor to speak with you and be able to share this information with your guests.
All right. That was a great interview. Hopefully you enjoyed it as much as me. And hopefully we can check in with Josh over time to see how things are going as they are putting a lot of force and a lot of focus into doubling their company. Now, I share all these things with you because I want you to have new insights and new strategies to grow your company. If you're having questions, you want a second set of eyes on the strategy you have moving forward, then I'd love to get to know you. I'd love to maybe even include you on a show here as you're growing fast so that we can talk about your strategy, your leadership, your culture that makes all that possible. As always, lead with courage, and I'll see you next time.